All right, this is part 2 of the Chapter 9 practice tests. Exercises 3 and 4, solve the equation using any method, give exact simplified solutions. Okay, solve using any method. We have x squared plus 8x equals 48. Notice that x squared and x indicate this might be a quadratic equation in disguise. What's a quadratic equation? When it's an ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0 form. If I subtract 48 from both sides, I do get that form. I get ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay, at this juncture, whenever you have a quadratic equation, there are 3 methods to solve with. 3. So I'm going to make 2 cuts to make 3 columns. And the first one is to factor and then zero product property. Factor and then zero product property. ZPP. That's a Z. It just doesn't look like one. Okay, that's first method. Second method is completing the square. Comp the square. Let's put that's Q because I don't have enough space. And the last method is the quadratic formula. All 3 methods work equally well. Well, I shouldn't say they work equally well. They all 3 solve this equation, a quadratic equation, but sometimes you can't factor. If you can't factor, you might try completing the square. Sometimes you can't complete the square. The only of the 3 methods that works no matter what is quadratic formula whenever you're solving a quadratic equation. But I usually try to factor first because by factoring, it can be really easy. So factoring, and I don't have enough space, so I'll have to do it up here. That's the x fraction method. Attic is a times c, that's negative 48. The basement is positive 8. What multiplies to negative 48 and adds to 8? I think you have 12 times negative 4. 12 times negative 4 is negative 48. 12 plus 4 is 8. You put that over 1. Why do we put that over 1? Because you put that over a. If a had been a different number, you might be able to reduce those fractions, so on and so forth. This is 1x plus 12, 1x minus 4. So x plus 12 times the quantity x plus or x minus 4 equals 0. Okay, now we factored zero product property next. First factor is x plus 12 equals 0. And if you solve that, you get x equals negative 12. And x minus 4 equals 0. And I'm really short on space here, I know, but I'll try it anyway because why not? There we go. And you get x equals 4. Okay, cool. We have the solutions. You could substitute those back in to determine if they are indeed solutions. Now, I'm going to try it a different way. With completing the square, a just has to be 1, right? And so why don't I do this? Why don't I just add the same number to both sides? What number do we add? B divided by 2 squared. So 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So I add 16 to both sides. Plus 16. And I'm really short on space. Okay, this is going to end up being x plus 4 quantity squared equals 64. If I take the square root of both sides, and I don't even know if I could show this without getting so messy, it's crazy, but okay, you get quantity x plus 4 equals 8, and x plus 4 equals negative 8. If you subtract 4 from both sides, you get x equals 4. Oh, hey, look at that. If you subtract 4 from both sides, you get x equals negative 12. Both methods work. So will the quadratic formula. But you know what? I'm not going to show quadratic formula because we're going to end up showing it on another problem in just a minute. Okay, 4x squared is equal to 20x. This also has an x squared and an x, so it could be another quadratic equation in disguise. But let's make it as simple as possible. Let's divide everything by 4 first. And then you get x squared equals 5x. Okay, this isn't a quadratic equation, but maybe we could turn it into one by trying to move towards ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So I'm going to subtract 5x from both sides. And now I have this. Okay, well, I don't know. This isn't a quadratic equation, right? Because it's missing c. Well, let's try factoring. I could use the x method, but if you see without a c, you can just factor out the GCF, which is just x. So it's just x minus 5. X times the quantity x minus 5 equals 0. X is a factor. I'll highlight it. X is a factor. It will not load. It's just so slow. Oh, no. And now my computer just crashed. Hold on. Okay, x is a factor, and x minus 5 is a factor. I'm going to try to reload this. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it did. Okay, so now I can set each of those factors equal to 0. I don't have enough space, so that's x equals 0 and x minus 5 equals 0. So that's x equals 5. So these are our solutions. Okay, you could have used quadratic formula. You could have used completing the square, but we didn't need to. We're good to go. So let's move on. Let me try to erase this. It's still, my computer's being more than